Hello and welcome to West Country Wanderings. It's a mixed video today. We're going to be doing it two locations. We're filming it over 2 days. Today though, this morning I'm in Gloucester making my way to the Regent City of Leamington Spa. We'll also be popping into the Regent City of Cheltenham Spa and we'll be comparing the interesting Regency architectural designs of both these fascinating towns here on West Country Wanderings. Here we are at Leamington Spa. Yes, beautiful Great Western Railway station here. Former Great Western Railway. I think it's now run by Cheltenham Railways. The train's taking you into London, Marylebone. I've just come on the train, worked my way up from Cheltenham. Obviously there used to be a line between Cheltenham directly to Stratford-on-Avon. That would have made the journey easier. Now that of course is the Gloucestershire, Warwickshire Railway, steam railway should I say. So I've had to come up from Cheltenham up to Birmingham New Street and make my way across through Coventry here to the town of Leamington Spa. So what we're going to do now is we're going to have a quick tour around this town. Well, a bit of a longer tour actually. I'm going to make my way to Jepson Park first and then find the pump rooms and then we'll have a look around the town centre proper. So you're here at Leamington Spa. Well, here we are in the main part of Leamington Spa. The pump rooms is just in front of me, and that is in fact how Leamington grew. 18th century Leamington Spa was known as Leamington Priors. In fact, it was just a small village in those days. But it was the arrival or discovery of the spring here, which is what is in common with all spa towns like Buxton, Malvern, and as we'll see in this video, Cheltenham as well. That's what made them expand. The tourists and visitors to the town grew, so the town catered for those. Buildings sprang up and there was a planned town centre, and it was all because of the springs here. Now Leamington is on the River Leam, and we'll go and have a look at the river in a moment. But we're here at the Pump Room Gardens, so the pump room is in front of me at the moment and we'll have a look at that shortly. And on the opposite side of the road are the famous Jeffson Gardens, and we'll have a look at that in detail because that's where the people that came here, the ladies would dress up and they would parade themselves across the gardens here to be the place to be seen and be seen here in Leamington. So the royal pump rooms and baths are behind me. If we've got time, we'll have a look inside. It contains a cafe, art gallery and a museum and the tourist information explaining about this fantastic Regency town here in Warwickshire. So Leamington, the father of Leamington, was Dr. Henry Jeffson, and we'll go and have a look at the gardens that were named after him shortly, just on the other side of the road. But here we are in the pump room gardens. We're immediately adjacent to the famous pump rooms here in Leamington. I think this guy wants a word though. He's trying to push that other guy out of the way. Don't know who he is. Anyway, we're here at Cheltenham Spa, the other spa town of the two spa towns on our journey today. Just arrived here, wonderful station, equally as nice as Leamington Spa, I think, except the fact it is rather crowded. It's only got 2 platforms and 2 tracks, unlike Leamington's 4 tracks. Actually, I think it's got 6 tracks maybe, but 4 platforms, more spacious there. I think they're going to have a rethink here at some point because it gets very crowded. Half the car park here today is shut off because of a racecourse meeting over at the other side, Prestbury, about a couple miles northway. Anyway, we're going to walk into the town today. See you in a minute. Just seen on the sign behind me, they've got a footpath towards the Honeybourne line. Now the Honeybourne line was the line which ran from Cheltenham up to Honeybourne in Worcestershire, where it met with the Cotswold line going from Oxford to Worcester, and then it made its way across that track towards Stratford-on-Avon. It would have been useful on my trip to Leamington Spa when the other guy when I was with the other guy that was at Leamington. But yeah, so we're here in wonderful Cheltenham. The only thing with Cheltenham Station, unlike Leamington, it's not that central. It's in part of Cheltenham known as Lansdowne, and we're going to be making our way to part of Cheltenham called Montpellier. Lovely leafy street here. We're actually walking along Queen's Road, and there's lots of affiliations to Queen's in Cheltenham, most notably the Queen's Hotel, which we'll see when we get to the Montpellier part of Cheltenham. I'm going to hand you back to that other guy now in Leamington Spa while I continue the walk here from the station towards Montpellier, and I'll see you in a bit soon. Pump room gardens were laid out in 1814, and they were designed to allow the people to take in the waters in the pump room to exercise after they had done so. The grand Victorian houses just to my left, they were built when the town expanded. What happened was that towards the end of the 19th century, in fact this is in common with a lot of the towns, including Cheltenham, as we'll see in this video, they started to decline in terms of popularity. Taking the waters no longer became fashionable. What happened here at Leamington was that retired people from Birmingham and Coventry moved south here into Warwickshire, and they bought up, bringing them wealth with them. They retired here into this town. And into the 20th century, Leamington then got a reputation as being a retail centre, a regional retail centre for fine shopping, and indeed that continues today, as we'll see. So this stunning iron bridge behind me, built at the end of the 19th century, carries the main road over the River Leam, which is where the town got its name. And we are at the end of the pump room gardens here. So what we're going to do now is, before that guy interrupts again going on about some other place south, is we're going to head to have a look around Jefferson Gardens and Hi Roy. If you're watching Hi Roy, Roy Edwards from his channel, check him out if you've not already spotted him. I know the people that you follow my channel will be interested in the kind of stuff that Roy does too. He came to Leamington, I think it was about a month, 6 weeks ago, and he couldn't identify a particular tree. Now I've had a look at that video again, so we'll see if we can spot that tree. And I've got my book with me, so we'll see if we can play a game of Name That Tree here in the park in Leamington. Before I come to Jefferson Park, I've just spotted this other park called Victoria Park on the other side of the main road. Sorry about the traffic noise here, but the reason I thought I'd mention that is I saw a sign saying, wow, these fantastic bowling greens are absolutely stunning, really amazing bowling greens here. I'm not one that plays bowling, if you do, it would be a fabulous place to play bowling. But the reason I mention it, and I think a little bit further on, see if I can see, it says it's got tennis courts here. Why is that interesting, you think? Well, the game of tennis started here in Leamington, and I'll drop some more information in the usual way below. So the reason that Leamington continues to have good bowling facilities is that from 1974 onwards, Leamington was the centre of the UK's Bowling Association. Now, although we're in mid-November at the moment and the days are still turning colder, tennis is still incredibly popular here in Leamington, as you can see behind me. Now, behind me is a pub called The Cricketers, and when Leamington was just a village, when it was called Leamington Priors, the bowling green in front of me was the village green. But the story doesn't end there, because behind me is where one John Wisden set up many famous cricket matches here. Now, if you're a cricket fan, I'm not, but if you are, you'll know that name Wisden because of the Wisden Annual Almanac, an annual collection of all the statistics in the world of cricket, and he lived here in Leamington and also brought many famous matches to this spot. It's no longer a cricket ground, as you can see, it's now bowling, but he obviously helped Leamington gain its popularity. Behind me now is Dormer Place, and that's our first taste of some of the many Regency buildings here in Royal Leamington Spa. Well, I've been blown away by the standard of the park here. I'm absolutely overwhelmed with all the trees. Now, most of these trees here are non-natives. That is to say that when the park was originally designed, they would have been brought in from people travelling across the world. But there's an amazing collection here. I'm absolutely struggling to find the specific one that you meant, Roy, when you came here. I'm trying to find one or two that we'll see if we can identify. But wow, I think I'm going to have to come back and do an entire video devoted to this part, identifying trees, because yeah, it's absolutely amazing, really, really great. We've also got a tropical park. Indoor gardens, should I say, which have got tropical plants in them. So we see if we can have a look in there. The only trouble I have with those sort of places is that the lens tends to steam up because the conditions tend to be quite humid. But we'll see if we go. We'll see if we can try it. Sorry, there's a helicopter overhead. Now I've come to identify this particular tree, and there its leaves. Obviously, we're in autumn. It's brown. It's not diseased or anything. It's this lovely red golden colour. But yeah, we're here in Jefferson Park in Leamington, in case I've cut across to Cheltenham. We're back in Leamington, and sadly, I've been through my book. I can't identify this particular tree here, so I'm going to take it away, see if I can identify some of the books I've got at home or searching through the web, because I'm certain it's not a European tree, so it's not coming from a book. It could well be North or perhaps South American, but we'll see if I can identify it. But wow, what a collection here. It's absolutely opened my eyes. Just absolutely. Anyway, we're going to have a look inside the tropical plant house. Now, if you saw my final Cotswold Way walk, you might recognise the crescent behind me. No, I haven't jumped to Bath. What is behind me is in fact Lansdowne Crescent, and what a stunning piece of Regency architecture it is. just arrived in Montpellier. There's a lot to uncover here. So what we're going to do is go down this side of Montpellier and back up the other side, back in front of the Ivy restaurant, no less. Used to be Lloyd's Bank, known as the Rotunda. It's now a really fancy posh restaurant, and then we're going to have a look around the Montpellier gardens. Behind me are the famous carotids in 1843. A sculptor named Rossi placed a couple of these here, loosely based on designs from Athens, and then another sculptor placed a few more, and they ran the whole length of this arcade here at Montpellier. Between 1843 and 1850, a sculptor named W.G. Brown from Tivoli in Italy completed the arrangement here. There were a couple of missing ones. I'm not sure if they were damaged, but they were actually made in cement and put here in 1970. So I hope you're enjoying the two spa towns tour. Currently here in Cheltenham. The other guy will be back with you shortly, back to complete the tour of Leamington, and then I'm going to take you through the high street, the promenade, and over towards the Pitville Park and the Pitville Pump Room, which is where the story of Cheltenham starts rather than ends. But that will be the end of our journey here today. But behind me, as I say, is Montpellier with those carotids. I'm not sure how you pronounce that word, but that's the best I can come up with. I do apologise if that's wrong. Any expert on sculpture can enlighten me on that. But they're the armless ladies from Greece, loosely based on that anyway. But we're here now in the Montpellier Gardens, and I'm just going to take you around. Now, while I'm here in Montpellier Park, I just thought I'd tell you a little bit about Cheltenham, where it is, population size, how it compares to Leamington Spa, and some of the similarities and differences between the two towns. First of all, if you're not familiar with Cheltenham Spa, it's in Gloucestershire. In fact, it's probably in the middle of Gloucestershire. It lies at the foot of the Cotswold Hills, or the scarp that we saw as we walked along the Cotswold Ways. We're actually close by to Leckhampton Hill and indeed Cleve Hill, which is the highest point in the Cotswolds and Gloucestershire. In terms of size, Cheltenham is actually twice the size of Leamington Spa. The town centre is a lot more spread out, as I can testify to walking around it today. In fact, the railway station is some 1 mile from the town centre, so you have that difference. The other difference is in terms of industry and the nature of the town, in terms of its makeup. Now, both towns expanded rapidly at the start of the 19th century, and as we've said, that's to do with the spa, the water, and attracting tourists and the popularity of that in the early Victorian days. Towards the end of the 19th century, both the towns suffered in a decline, and the fortunes of the spa was a popularity to do with visiting spa towns like others like Bath and Malvern, and their popularity declined towards the end of the 19th century. Coming into the 20th century, the towns still had some similarities because both of the towns attracted retirees. In the case of Leamington Spa, the retirees were from Birmingham and Coventry. They're people that had made their wealth in industry in the Black Country and elsewhere in the West Midlands, and they settled on Leamington Spa, being close to the countryside and a very pleasant place to live and also the shops grew up around there, so had a reputation for good retail. Same was true of Cheltenham Spa in the earlier 20th century, and the slight difference here is that it seemed to have a reputation, I'm not sure for how true it was the capital of retired colonels, so it is people that were perhaps officers in the army and perhaps the other services as well that would come to Cheltenham to settle, because like Leamington, it's a very genteel and pleasant place to live, and indeed still is. As we move through towards the end of the 20th century, that things change in terms of both the towns, and they're still very prosperous towns, but for different reasons. Now, Leamington Spa has got a moniker now. It's now known by the nickname of Silicon Spa because of all the computer games industry that have moved into Leamington. Thinking of companies like EA Games, it's anything to do with computer games. Ubisoft, I believe, have a major facility in Leamington. So there is a lot of wealth, a lot of highly skilled computer people living in Leamington. And computers is also the theme here in Cheltenham too, because it's not computer games that's the main industry here, but GCHQ, because this is the centre of the government communications headquarters. They're just outside the town centre. There's a large donut-shaped building, and that is where the government has all of their kind of tentacles listening into satellites and other communications through the web, and also to do with cyber security. So it's a really important place for that. So there's a lot of clever people that live here in Cheltenham too, and because of that, and obviously they're well-paid jobs in both Leamington and Cheltenham, they're both still prosperous places. Well, I've been enjoying my day here today in Leamington Spa. It's the first time I've been here since possibly the late 1970s. Just to tell you that in the 1970s, when I was at school during the summer holidays, I used to get what was called a Midland Railrover ticket, which lasted a week, and you could tour all over the Midlands with one ticket, and I think it was something ridiculous like £5 or £10. You could travel all week for free, well not for free, for that amount of money all over the Midlands, and it started in Gloucester, but it went up I think as far as Stafford, right through Warwickshire and the West Midlands and across to Shrewsbury and down to Hereford. It was a great trip. Anyway, I digress. That was the last time I've been here. I couldn't remember much about it. I just remember the station. The station seemed familiar. good mix of shops here, from Cotswold trading right through to sea salt, Cornwall and much else besides. And there's even a cracking little photographic gallery here as well. Sadly, it's closed on Mondays, so not open today. Wrap up part one of the video now, and the other guy will continue with part two in that town further south. What I do is I'll just finish off with doing a little bit of video, just walking through the town centre here, and then I'll hand you over to the town of Cheltenham Spa. Be really interested to know what you think. I'll do a summary end of video when it comes to the complete end. When I'm in Cheltenham, but I'd love to know what you think in terms of the two towns. If you've visited Leamington Spa or Cheltenham Spa, if you've got any preferences or likes or dislikes about the town, I'd be really interested to hear from you. But say after 40 odd years, it's great to come back to Leamington, and I couldn't remember much about it. Very clean town here. It's a town that you can see it's well cared for by the local council. I think it comes under Warwick District, and it's obviously an affluent town, and obviously people, they probably commute into places like Coventry and further afield. But yeah, it's a lovely town, and I've really enjoyed my day here. Anyway, I'll hand you over to the other guy now. Cheers, thanks for watching. One of Cheltenham's most famous hotels behind me, the Queen's Hotel, and we're just inside Imperial Gardens, which is immediately adjacent, and I think there's something going on here. There's lots of marquees. I'm not sure what's happening here at the moment. I know there are lots of events that happen in Cheltenham aside from the races days and the Golden Cup and the other jump racing and calendar. The other thing that several things. I think it has a jazz music festival. It also has, of course, the Cheltenham Literary Festival every year. I know it's been past couple of years. It's probably been taking place online, but I think it took place this year, and I'm not sure if this is still the remains of that, if you like. There's lots of famous authors that came to that here in Cheltenham. Just found out what they're doing behind me. It's coming up to that C word. Yes, Christmas. I'm not a big fan of Christmas. You won't see much of it on my channel. You might see, I might do a tour of one of the Christmas lights, but don't bank on it. But yeah, it's to do with a skating rink they're putting up here at the top of the town. Now we have one of the most unusual finger post signs that I've ever come across behind me. It's nothing like what we saw on the Cotswold Way. It's pointing to Cheltenham, which is 3,450 miles away. But that's Cheltenham in the USA. It's also it's all of the towns that Cheltenham is twinned with. Sochi in Russia is another one. There's also a place in China. I can't remember more. There's lots, but I've just taken a photograph and I'll insert that now. I'm now outside Cheltenham Town Hall. It was built, I think, in 1910. I'll drop in the architect's name in the usual way. It is one of the places where performers perform in the town. In fact, Cheltenham is very well established for places performance. It also, as well as the town hall, where there are lots of classical music gardens, and indeed comedians, rock groups, pop groups, all that type of thing happens here. At the town hall, we also have the Everyman Theatre, and there's another smaller theatre called the Playhouse. Entering the promenade here at Cheltenham. This is the start of Cheltenham's retail and business district here. It's a wide avenue, tree-lined street with magnificent buildings on that side as well, and department stores, shops on the opposite side. So behind me now is the Everyman Theatre, probably one of the top theatres in the country. Sometimes they do touring productions and they trial things out before launching in the West End a few weeks later, but they've got fantastic facilities here at the theatre. Cheltenham is one of the top retail centres regionally in the West, and it has a number of top stores, including a John Lewis and a huge indoor shopping centre called Regent Arcade. Now on Pittville Street, leaving the main high street. Still lots of shops along here though, a few independent shops, and then we're making our way towards Pittville Gardens. Now behind me is a very famous residence here in Cheltenham. It's the birthplace of the composer Gustav Holst, and his former home is now a museum dedicated to his life. Don't have time to visit it today, but I think we'll be back at some point here on West Country Wanderings even to visit it, and to also walk part of the Gustav Holst footpath or trail, which starts at this very spot. So there it is, that is the Pittville Pump Room. We're currently in Pittville Park. Beautiful lake in front of me as well. Lovely autumnal colours here. So what we're going to do now is we'll take a closer look at the pump room and tell you a little bit about the history of that, and then I'll be wrapping up this video for both of the towns. Many years ago, in the, I think it was 1975, there was a sitcom on the BBC, and it was called, well, I'll let you guess. I'll tell you a little bit about it. First of all, I'll tell you a little bit about the writer. The writer was a lady, wonderful lady, who was very keen on animal rights, I seem to remember, and she came from Liverpool, and her name was Carla Lane. Now sadly no longer with us, but she was a brilliant writer of comedies, and very poignant comedies. And there was an actor in it by the name of Wendy Craig. Now that's a big clue. And also there was a very young, from Only Fools and Horses, Nicholas Lyndhurst. Now they were probably getting warmer. And that television series was filmed here in Cheltenham, which is quite unusual for its time. Now you get productions all over the country, but in those days things tended to be centred around London. But that was not the case with this particular sitcom, which I believe aired on BBC Two, probably 1975, going back a long time now, so I don't know if anybody watching this remembers the programme I'm talking about. But in that series, the character played by Wendy Craig, she was married to a dentist, and she was fed up with her life, kind of a midlife crisis, if you like. And I remember the character, the cleaner that she had as well. And she didn't know, she was basically a housewife. Her cooking was dreadful. And in the afternoons she would come into the centre of Cheltenham and go for a walk. One of the places she walked was Pittville Park. And then she met another gentleman, and they became friendly. It never got any further than that, but that was the kind of a will they, won't they. But it was interesting, the bond that she had with this chap who was a Cheltenham businessman, in the story, that is. And the name, of course, of that sitcom was Butterflies, and it was a kind of a very poignant. There were some very sad moments, I seem to remember. That was a thing from Carla Lane. As I say, she was a brilliant licer, and I was saying to remember, I was a child when that was on television. I remember that series very well. I remember it being filmed around here, and I remember the Mini that Nicholas Lyndhurst had. I think he had a Union Jack painted on the top of it. But yeah, a little anecdote about Pittville Park. So that's the end of our tour, the 2 tours of Cheltenham Spa and Leamington Spa. I hope you enjoyed it. So from Pitfield Pump Room, that's it for today here in West Country Wanderings. Until next time, take care of yourselves, look after yourselves, and I hope to see you all again soon. Cheers now, bye bye.